Rosa wiped down the last table at the diner, her feet aching from the 12-hour shift. It was almost midnight, and she still had to get home to check on her daughter. The manager handed her the night's tips, a small pile of crumpled bills that she quickly stuffed into her apron pocket without counting. Every dollar mattered. She walked 6 blocks to the bus stop because taking the bus from closer would cost an extra fare. The cold wind cut through her thin jacket, but she'd given her warm coat to 8-year-old Lily last winter when the child had outgrown hers. Rosa told herself she didn't mind the cold. Mothers get used to putting themselves last. When she finally reached their small apartment building, she climbed the 3 flights of stairs slowly, her legs heavy with exhaustion. She could hear piano music drifting through the door before she even put her key in the lock. Lily was still awake, still playing. Rosa opened the door to find her daughter seated at the old upright piano that had come with the apartment. The landlord had left it there because it would cost too much to move. Its wood was scratched, several keys stuck, and it was terribly out of tune. But to Lily, it was the most beautiful instrument in the world. "Mama, you're home," Lily said, jumping up from the bench and running to hug her mother's waist. Rosa held her daughter close, breathing in the scent of her hair. "Why aren't you asleep, little one?" "It's so late. I was practicing. Listen to what I learned today." Lily pulled her mother toward the piano, her excitement impossible to contain. Rosa sat on the worn couch and watched as her daughter's small fingers moved across the keys. The melody was simple but sweet, something Lily had figured out entirely by herself. The child had never had a single piano lesson. Everything she knew came from watching videos at the library during their weekend visits and from the pure determination burning inside her. "That's beautiful, sweetheart," Rosa said, her voice thick with emotion. "But you need to sleep now. School tomorrow, remember?" Lily nodded and went to the tiny bedroom they shared. Rosa waited until she heard her daughter's breathing slow and deepen before she allowed herself to move. She went to the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. Inside was leftover rice and some vegetables she'd made for Lily's dinner. There was enough for 1 more meal, maybe 2 if she stretched it. Her stomach growled, but Rosa closed the refrigerator door. Lily would need breakfast tomorrow, and there wouldn't be money for groceries until Friday when she got paid from her weekend cleaning job. She drank a glass of water instead and told herself it was enough. This had become her routine. Work at the diner from noon to midnight. Sleep for a few hours. Wake up early to make Lily breakfast and pack her lunch. Then head to her morning job at the convenience store while Lily went to school. After that, she'd rush to clean offices for 3 hours before starting her diner shift again. Somewhere in between, she'd sleep for 2 or 3 hours. Rosa knew she was running herself into the ground. She'd lost 20 pounds in the past 6 months, and there were dark circles under her eyes that no amount of rest could erase anymore. But when she looked at Lily, healthy and happy and fed, it all felt worth it. The piano had become Lily's escape and her joy. Rosa remembered the first time her daughter had touched those keys. Lily was 5 years old and they'd just moved into this apartment after being evicted from their previous place. Everything they owned fit into 4 garbage bags and a broken suitcase. Lily had been crying, scared and confused about why they had to leave their old home. Then she saw the piano. She walked up to it slowly, reached out 1 small finger and pressed a single key. The note rang out in the empty apartment clear and true. Lily's tears stopped. She pressed another key, then another, and just like that she fell in love. Over the next 3 years, Rosa watched her daughter transform. Lily would spend hours at that piano, teaching herself songs she heard on the radio or melodies that appeared in her dreams. The neighbors never complained about the noise. In fact, Mrs. Chen from upstairs once told Rosa that Lily's music helped her sleep better at night. School was different for Lily. She tried her best, but Rosa knew it wasn't easy for her. The other children had new backpacks, the latest sneakers, and lunch money to buy hot meals. Lily carried her books in a bag Rosa had sewn from old curtains, wore shoes from the thrift store that were a size too big, and ate the sandwiches her mother packed every morning. Some kids were kind. Others weren't. Rosa had seen the hurt in Lily's eyes when she came home from school, though her daughter never complained. Instead, Lily would go straight to the piano and play. Her fingers would dance across the keys, and somehow the sadness would lift. Music was her language, her therapy, her safe place. Last week, Lily had come home with a flyer about the school's talent show. Her eyes were bright with hope, but there was fear there too. "Mama, do you think I could perform?" she'd asked, holding the paper carefully. Rosa's heart had squeezed tight. She wanted to say yes immediately, to encourage every dream her daughter had. But she also knew the reality. The talent show would mean being on stage in front of everyone. It would mean standing in the spotlight where her worn clothes and secondhand shoes would be even more visible. "Do you want to perform?" Rosa asked instead. Lily nodded slowly. "I wrote a song, a real song all by myself. It's about being grateful. About how even when things are hard, there's still beauty everywhere if you look for it." Rosa pulled her daughter into her arms. "Then you should perform. Your music is a gift, Lily. Don't ever let anyone make you feel like you should hide it." That night, after Lily fell asleep, Rosa counted the money in her tip jar. She'd been saving for a warm coat, but the talent show was in 3 weeks. She could skip buying the coat. She could work an extra shift at the diner on Sunday. She could make it work somehow. The next day, Rosa went to the thrift store during her lunch break. She searched through the racks until she found a dress that would fit Lily. It was light blue with small white flowers, gently used but clean and pretty. It cost $12, almost a full day's worth of tips. Rosa bought it without hesitation. She also stopped at the library and asked the librarian if there were any free resources for learning piano. The librarian, a kind woman named Patricia, helped her print out some beginner sheet music and wrote down the names of YouTube channels that taught music theory. When Rosa got home that night, she hung the dress in the closet and placed the sheet music on the piano. She was so tired she could barely stand, but she felt a small spark of hope. Her daughter had a dream, a real talent, and maybe, just maybe, the world would see it too. Lily found the dress the next morning. She stood in front of it, touching the fabric gently as if afraid it might disappear. "Mama, is this for me?" "For the talent show," Rosa said, braiding her daughter's hair before school. "Every performer needs a special outfit." Lily threw her arms around her mother's neck. "Thank you, Mama. Thank you so much." Rosa held her daughter close, blinking back tears. She didn't tell Lily that she'd eaten nothing but rice for 3 days to afford that dress. She didn't mention that her feet were bleeding from standing too long in shoes that no longer fit properly. She didn't say that she'd been dizzy at work yesterday from hunger and exhaustion. All she said was, "You deserve it, sweetheart. Now go practice. Show the world what you can do." Part 2. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of work and worry for Rosa, but for Lily, they were filled with music. Every morning before school, the child would sit at the piano for 20 minutes, her fingers moving carefully across the keys. After school, she'd spend 2 hours practicing before starting her homework. Rosa would listen from the kitchen while she prepared their simple meals. She noticed how Lily's song was changing, growing richer and more complex. The melody spoke of struggle and hope, of darkness and light. For an 8-year-old child, it was remarkably mature. But then again, Lily had seen more hardship than most children her age. At school, word had spread about Lily's plan to perform at the talent show. Some classmates were excited for her. A girl named Sophie, whose family wasn't wealthy either, told Lily she couldn't wait to hear her play. But there were others, children from families with money who made unkind comments. "You're really going to play that old song you made up?" a boy named Brandon asked one day at lunch. "My sister's doing a professional dance routine with a real choreographer. What do you have? A broken piano and a homemade song?" Lily felt her cheeks burn with shame, but she lifted her chin. "My song might not be professional, but it's mine. Every note comes from my heart." Brandon laughed and walked away with his friends. Lily ate her sandwich slowly, trying not to cry. Sophie slid into the seat next to her. "Don't listen to him," Sophie said. "My mom heard you practicing through your window last week when she was walking by your building. She said it was the most beautiful thing she'd heard in years." Lily smiled, grateful for the kindness. "Thanks, Sophie. That means a lot." That afternoon, when Lily got home and started practicing, she poured all her hurt feelings into the music. The piano keys absorbed her pain and transformed it into something beautiful. Rosa listened from the doorway, her heart breaking and swelling at the same time. She knew her daughter faced challenges at school. She'd seen the way some parents looked at them when she dropped Lily off in the morning. Tack. Ing in Rosa's worn clothes and tired face. She'd heard the whispers about the poor woman with 3 jobs who still couldn't afford to dress her child properly. But Rosa also knew something those people didn't understand. Poverty might limit what she could buy her daughter, but it couldn't touch what truly mattered. Lily had determination, creativity, and a heart full of gratitude. Those things couldn't be purchased at any price. Still, Rosa wished she could give her daughter more. She wished she could afford real piano lessons with a teacher who could help Lily reach her full potential. She wished she could buy her new clothes so she'd never have to feel ashamed. She wished for so many things. One evening, 2 weeks before the talent show, Rosa came home to find Lily crying at the piano. Her daughter's shoulders were shaking with sobs, and she didn't even hear Rosa come in. "Baby, what's wrong?" Rosa rushed to her daughter's side. Lily looked up with red, swollen eyes. "I can't do it, Mama. I'm not good enough." "The other kids are right. I don't have a real teacher or fancy training. What if I get up there and everyone laughs at me?" Rosa knelt down and took her daughter's hands. "Look at me, Lily. Do you love music?" Lily nodded through her tears. "And does this song mean something to you? Does it tell a story you want the world to hear?" "Yes," Lily whispered. "It's about you, Mama. About how you work so hard and never complain. About how you always find reasons to smile even when things are difficult. It's about learning to be grateful for what we have instead of sad about what we don't." Rosa felt tears stream down her own face. "Then that's all that matters. You're not performing to impress anyone or to compete with kids who've had expensive lessons. You're performing to share your heart. That's what real music is, sweetheart. It's not about being perfect. It's about being honest." Lily wiped her eyes and nodded slowly. "You really think so?" "I know so. And you know what else I know? You have a gift. I've never heard anyone play piano the way you do. You make that old broken instrument sing like it's brand new. Imagine what you could do with a real piano." "Do you think I'll ever get to play a real piano?" Lily asked. "One that's in tune and has all the keys working?" Rosa smiled, though her heart ached. "I think if you keep working hard and believing in yourself, there's nothing you won't be able to do. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but someday." That conversation seemed to lift something in Lily. She went back to practicing with renewed energy. Rosa noticed that her daughter started waking up even earlier to fit in extra practice time. Sometimes she'd find Lily at the piano at 6 in the morning, still in her pajamas, working on a difficult section of her song. Rosa tried to give her daughter every advantage she could. She started skipping lunch at work, pocketing the few dollars she'd usually spend on a sandwich. She'd save those dollars and then go to the library to print out more music theory lessons for Lily. The librarian, Patricia, had become an unexpected ally. She'd started setting aside music books for Lily and giving Rosa tips on free online resources. "Your daughter is special," Patricia told Rosa one Saturday afternoon while Lily was in the children's section. "I've worked here for 20 years and I've never seen a child so dedicated to learning something without being forced." Rosa felt pride swell in her chest. She loves it more than anything. "Have you thought about trying to find her a mentor? Someone who could give her guidance even if it's just once a month?" Patricia asked gently. Rosa's face must have shown her distress because Patricia quickly added, "I know money is tight, but let me ask around. Maybe there's a retired music teacher who'd be willing to volunteer their time." Rosa thanked her, though she didn't want to get her hopes up. People were generous with advice, but usually less generous with their time. Still, she appreciated Patricia's kindness. As the talent show drew closer, Rosa noticed she was getting weaker. The lack of proper food was catching up with her. She'd started feeling dizzy at work, and twice she'd had to sit down because her vision went dark around the edges. But she pushed through. Just a few more weeks, she told herself. After the talent show, she'd eat better. The dress hung in their tiny closet like a promise. Lily would look at it every morning before school, touching the fabric gently. Rosa had washed it carefully by hand and hung it to dry by the window. She'd even used her employee discount at the convenience store to buy a small bottle of fabric softener, a luxury they never usually afforded. 1 week before the talent show, Lily performed her song from start to finish without stopping. Rosa sat on the couch and listened, and when the last note faded, she couldn't speak for a moment. The music had been that powerful, that moving. "Mama, was it okay?" Lily asked nervously. Rosa stood and walked to the piano. She pulled her daughter into her arms and held her tight. "It was more than okay, baby. It was perfect. You're going to touch people's hearts with that song, I promise you." Lily hugged her mother back. "I hope so. I want to make you proud." "You already do," Rosa whispered. "Every single day you make me proud." That night, after Lily fell asleep, Rosa sat at the kitchen table and counted her money one more time. She had enough to cover rent and utilities. She had enough for Lily's lunches for the next week. She had enough for the bus fare to get to her jobs. But she didn't have enough for groceries. She'd have to stretch what they had and hope she could make it to Friday's paycheck. Her stomach cramped with hunger, but Rosa ignored it. She'd gotten good at ignoring her body's protests. Instead, she thought about the talent show, about seeing Lily on that stage sharing her gift with the world. She thought about the pride that would shine in her daughter's eyes when she finished her performance. Rosa pulled out the flyer about the talent show and read it again. The event was being held at the community center downtown. Parents were encouraged to attend. There would be refreshments afterward. Rosa had already arranged to miss her evening shift at the diner that night, the first time she'd taken time off in 8 months. She folded the flyer carefully and placed it on the refrigerator, held up by a magnet shaped like a butterfly that Lily had made in art class. Looking at it made Rosa smile despite her exhaustion. In 1 week, her daughter would step into the spotlight. And Rosa would be there in the audience, cheering louder than anyone else. That was all that mattered. Part 3. The morning of the talent show arrived with gray skies and cold rain. Rosa woke up before her alarm, her stomach tight with nervous excitement. Today was Lily's big day, and despite everything, they'd made it to this moment. She got up quietly and went to the kitchen to make breakfast. There wasn't much left in the cupboard. She made oatmeal with water instead of milk and added a small spoonful of honey she'd been saving. When Lily woke up, Rosa would tell her it was a special celebration breakfast. "Mama, is it time?" Lily appeared in the doorway, her eyes bright despite the early hour. "Not yet, sweetheart. The show isn't until this evening. But let's have a special breakfast together." Rosa set the bowl of oatmeal on their small table. Lily sat down and took a bite. "This tastes good." "Are you eating too?" Rosa nodded, though she only had hot water with a squeeze of lemon. "I ate while I was cooking." "You know me, always tasting everything." The lie came easily now. Rosa had gotten good at hiding her hunger. Lily was growing and needed every bit of nutrition Rosa could provide. Her own needs came second, third, last. After breakfast, Lily couldn't sit still. She practiced her song 3 times, then worried she was practicing too much and would tire herself out. Rosa reassured her, helped her with homework to keep her mind occupied, and then they played card games until afternoon. At 4 o'clock, Rosa ran a bath for Lily. She'd been saving a small bottle of bubble bath for a special occasion and today qualified. While Lily soaked, Rosa laid out the blue dress with the white flowers, a pair of white tights she'd found at the thrift store last week, and the least worn of Lily's shoes. When Lily emerged from the bathroom, her hair damp and her cheeks pink from the hot water, Rosa helped her into the dress. It fit perfectly. Rosa had been worried it might be too small, but it looked like it had been made just for Lily. "You look beautiful," Rosa whispered, brushing her daughter's long hair until it shone. Lily stared at herself in the bathroom mirror, turning left and right. "I really do look nice, don't I?" "You look perfect." Rosa finished with Lily's hair, leaving it down in soft waves. She wished she had a camera to capture this moment. But phones with cameras weren't something they could afford. She'd just have to commit every detail to memory. They took the bus to the community center downtown. The rain had stopped, but the streets were wet and shiny. Lily clutched her mother's hand the entire ride, her palms sweaty with nerves. When they arrived at the community center, Rosa's heart sank a little. The building was much nicer than she'd expected. Parents were arriving in cars, some of them expensive-looking. Children were dressed in elaborate costumes. She saw a girl in a sparkly dance outfit that probably cost more than Rosa made in a month. She saw a boy carrying a violin in a professional case. "Mama, everyone looks so fancy," Lily whispered, suddenly self-conscious. Rosa squeezed her daughter's hand. "You look perfect. Remember what we talked about. You're not here to compete with anyone. You're here to share your music, your heart. That's what matters." They went inside and found the auditorium. It was already half full with parents and family members claiming the best seats. Rosa spotted 2 seats near the middle and guided Lily to them. "I need to go backstage and check in," Lily said, her voice small. Rosa knelt down to her daughter's level. "You've got this. I'll be right here in this seat watching you the whole time. If you get nervous, just look for me. I'll be smiling." Lily nodded, hugged her mother tight, and then headed toward the backstage area where a teacher was organizing the performers. Rosa sat down in her seat and looked around. She felt out of place among these well-dressed parents with their nice clothes and confident smiles. She was wearing her best outfit, but her best was still obviously worn and dated. She saw some of the other mothers glancing at her, their eyes taking in her appearance and making quick judgments. Rosa lifted her chin. She might not have money, but she had something just as valuable. She had a daughter with talent and heart. That counted for more than any designer clothes or expensive car. The auditorium continued to fill up. Rosa noticed a group of people arriving late and taking seats in the back row. One man stood out. He was dressed simply jeans and a button-down shirt, but something about him seemed different. He looked distracted, checking his phone repeatedly, clearly not wanting to be there. Rosa turned her attention back to the stage. The lights dimmed, and the principal of Lily's school walked to the microphone to welcome everyone. Good evening, families and friends. Thank you for joining us for our annual talent show. We have 20 talented young performers tonight, and I know you're going to be amazed by their abilities. The show began. The first performer was a girl who did a gymnastics routine to pop music. She was impressive, clearly trained professionally. The audience clapped enthusiastically. Next came a boy who performed a magic act, pulling scarves and fake flowers from various places. More applause. Rosa watched each act, her anxiety building. These children were all so polished, so professional. What if Lily didn't measure up? What if people compared her homegrown talent to these expensively trained performers and found her lacking? Act after act went by. A girl sang a song from a Broadway musical with perfect pitch and choreographed movements. A boy played violin with the precision of someone who'd had lessons since toddlerhood. Twin sisters did an Irish dance routine in matching costumes covered with sequins. Finally, after what felt like hours, the principal returned to the microphone. Our next performer is Lily Chen, who will be playing an original composition on piano. Rosa's heart leapt into her throat. This was it. Lily walked onto the stage, looking tiny under the bright lights. Rosa could see her daughter's hands trembling. Some people in the audience whispered when they saw Lily's simple dress and lack of accompaniment. Most of the other acts had been flashy, loud, accompanied by recorded music or wearing elaborate costumes. Lily walked to the piano at the side of the stage and sat down on the bench. She adjusted it slightly, then placed her hands on the keys. Rosa held her breath. For a long moment, nothing happened. Lily sat frozen, her hands hovering over the keys. Rosa could see the panic in her daughter's eyes even from the middle of the auditorium. Then Lily looked up, searching the audience. Her eyes found Rosa's. Rosa smiled as big as she could and nodded once, firmly. Lily took a deep breath. Her hands touched the keys, and she began to play. The first notes were soft, almost hesitant. But then the melody began to unfold, and Rosa felt tears spring to her eyes. The song was even more beautiful than she remembered. It started gentle and sad, reflecting struggle and hardship. Then it slowly transformed, the notes becoming brighter, more hopeful. The whispers in the audience stopped. People leaned forward in their seats. The music filled the auditorium, raw and honest in a way the other polished performances hadn't been. This wasn't just a performance, it was a story, an emotion, a piece of a child's soul laid bare. Rosa watched her daughter play, and pride swelled so large in her chest she thought she might burst. Lily's eyes were closed now, her face peaceful. Her fingers moved across the keys with a confidence that came from hours of solitary practice. The old-school piano wasn't perfect, but Lily made it sing. The melody built to a crescendo, notes tumbling over each other in a waterfall of sound. Then it softened again, becoming gentle and grateful, a musical thank you to the world. The final notes hung in the air like a prayer, then faded to silence. For a moment, nobody moved. Rosa wondered if something had gone wrong. Then the auditorium erupted. People were on their feet, clapping and cheering. Rosa stood too, tears streaming down her face, clapping until her palms hurt. Lily opened her eyes, looking stunned. She stood and gave a small bow, then practically ran off the stage, overwhelmed by the response. Rosa wanted to rush backstage immediately, but she needed to wait until intermission. She sat back down, her whole body shaking with emotion. Around her, parents were talking. "That was incredible," a woman said to her husband. "Did you hear how mature that composition was? That child has real talent. I wonder who her teacher is," another parent said. "I'd love to send our son there." Rosa said nothing, just smiled to herself. Lily didn't have a teacher. She had something better. She had passion and determination and love for her art. In the back row, the man in jeans sat frozen in his seat. His phone lay forgotten in his lap. His sister, sitting next to him, nudged him. "David, are you crying?" she asked, surprised. David Chen wiped his eyes quickly. "That song, did you hear it? It was about gratitude, about finding beauty in struggle. When's the last time you heard something that honest?" His sister smiled. "That's Lily. She's in my class. Sweetest girl you'd ever meet. Her mother works 3 jobs to support them." David looked at his sister sharply. 3 jobs? At least. That woman is never not working, but she's raising a remarkable child. His sister pointed to Rosa, sitting alone in the middle section. "That's her mother there." David looked at Rosa and saw something he'd forgotten existed in the world he moved through. He saw pure, uncomplicated joy. He saw a mother's pride with no concern for how others perceived her or her child. He saw love that asked for nothing in return. Something shifted inside him, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. He'd built a billion-dollar company by being ruthless and strategic. He'd forgotten what it felt like to be moved by something simple and real. "I want to meet them," he said to his sister. "After the show, can you introduce me?" His sister looked at him curiously. "Sure, but why?" David didn't have a good answer. All he knew was that a little girl's piano performance had cracked something open inside his chest, and he needed to understand why. After the show ended and the final performer took their bow, Rosa made her way backstage through the crowded hallway. Parents were congratulating their children, taking photos, making plans to celebrate. Rosa just wanted to hold her daughter and tell her how proud she was. She found Lily standing alone near the back exit, still looking dazed. When Lily saw her mother, she ran straight into Rosa's arms. "Mama, did you hear them clapping? They really liked it." They stood up. Rosa held her daughter tight, tears flowing freely now. "Of course they liked it, baby. You were magnificent. You shared something real with everyone in that room." "I was so scared at first," Lily admitted. "When I sat down at the piano, my mind went completely blank. I couldn't remember how my song started. But then I saw you smiling, and I remembered why I wrote it. After that, the notes just came." They stood there holding each other for a long moment, neither of them aware that several people were watching them. Other parents glanced over, some with kind smiles, others with that familiar look of pity Rosa had learned to ignore. "Excuse me?" A voice interrupted their moment. Rosa turned to see a woman in her 30s approaching them with a warm smile. Behind her stood the man Rosa had noticed in the back row during the performance. "Hi, I'm Jennifer Chen. I'm actually one of the teachers at Westfield Elementary, though Lily's in a different classroom." She gestured to the man. "This is my brother David. We were both so moved by your performance, Lily. That song was extraordinary." Lily looked up shyly. "Thank you, Miss Chen." David stepped forward. Rosa noticed he moved with a quiet confidence, but his eyes were kind. "That song you played, did you really write it yourself?" Lily nodded. "Yes, sir. It took me about 3 weeks to get it right. I kept changing parts until it said what I wanted it to say." "And what was it you wanted to say?" David asked gently. Lily glanced at her mother, then back at David. "I wanted to say thank you to my mama for everything she does. And I wanted to remind people, including myself, that being grateful is a choice. Even when things are hard, we can choose to see the good stuff." Rosa felt her throat tighten with emotion. She hadn't fully understood that was what the song was about, though perhaps her heart had known all along. David looked at Rosa. "Do you have a moment to talk? Maybe we could grab some coffee or something from the refreshment table." Rosa hesitated. She didn't know these people, and she was always cautious around strangers. But Jennifer was a teacher at Lily's school, and there was something genuine in David's expression that put her at ease. "Okay," Rosa said, "just for a few minutes." They walked together to the refreshment area where the school had set up cookies and punch. Lily took a cookie, her first one of the evening, and bit into it with delight. Rosa declined the offer of food, though her empty stomach ached. "Can I ask?" David began carefully. "Does Lily have a piano teacher? Someone who's been working with her on composition?" Rosa shook her head. "No, she's completely self-taught. We can't afford lessons. She learns from videos at the library and just practices on our old piano at home." David exchanged a glance with his sister. "That's remarkable. She has a natural gift for music, especially composition. The emotional maturity in that piece would be impressive for someone twice her age." "She spends every free moment at the piano," Rosa said, unable to keep the pride from her voice. "It's like she speaks a different language when she plays." Jennifer smiled at Lily. "I've noticed you're always humming in the hallways at school. Music really is your passion, isn't it?" Lily nodded enthusiastically. "When I play piano, everything else goes away. It's like the music talks for me when words aren't enough." David knelt down to Lily's eye level. "Can I ask you something? If you could have anything in the world related to music, what would it be?" Lily thought for a moment. "A real piano teacher. Someone who could show me if I'm doing things right. Sometimes I'm not sure if I'm playing correctly or if I'm just making up my own way that might be wrong." "There's no wrong way to make music," David said gently, "but I understand wanting guidance." "What else?" "A piano that works properly," Lily added. "Our piano at home has sticky keys and it's out of tune. Mama says we can't afford to fix it, so I just work around the broken parts." Rosa felt a flush of shame. She didn't want these people to know how little they had. But Lily was just being honest, not complaining. David stood back up and looked at Rosa. "Can I ask you some questions? Please don't think I'm being intrusive. I'm just trying to understand your situation." Rosa stiffened. "Why?" "Because I'd like to help if you'd let me," David said simply. Rosa's protective instincts kicked in. She'd dealt with people who offered help before, and it always came with strings attached or with judgment hidden beneath the kindness. "We don't need charity." "I'm not offering charity," David said, his voice respectful. "I'm offering an opportunity. But first I need to be honest with you about who I am." He pulled out a business card and handed it to Rosa. She looked at it, her eyes widening slightly. David Chen, CEO, Innovate Tech Solutions. Even Rosa, who had no time to follow business news, had heard of that company. "You're the tech guy," Rosa said slowly. "The one who built that big company everyone talks about." David nodded. "That's me. I've been very fortunate in business. But tonight, listening to your daughter play, I remembered something I'd forgotten. I remembered why I got into technology in the first place. It wasn't about making money. It was about creating things, about that pure joy of bringing something new into the world." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "Lily's music reminded me of that feeling. She plays with such honesty, such pure love for what she's doing. It's been a long time since I've encountered anything that real." Rosa didn't know what to say. She held Lily's hand protectively. Still not sure where this conversation was going, Jennifer spoke up. "What my brother is trying to say, though he's doing it in his usual roundabout way, is that he was genuinely moved by your daughter's talent. And he has the resources to help nurture that talent if you'd be open to it." "I don't understand," Rosa said carefully. David ran a hand through his hair. "Look, I know this is unusual. We just met. But I want to help Lily develop her gift. I know one of the best piano teachers in the city. Her name is Margaret Liu, and she's retired now but still takes on a few students each year. Students she believes have exceptional potential." He continued, "I'd like to pay for Lily to have lessons with Margaret, not as charity but as an investment in a young person's future. And there's something else I'd like to propose, but maybe we should sit down somewhere more private to discuss it." Rosa looked at this wealthy stranger and felt torn. Part of her wanted to say no immediately. Pride told her they didn't need anyone's help. But another part of her, the part that lay awake at night worrying about Lily's future, was whispering that maybe this was the opportunity she'd been praying for. "I don't know," Rosa said honestly. "This is a lot to take in." Lily tugged on her mother's sleeve. "Mama, a real teacher? Someone who could help me get better?" The hope in her daughter's eyes made Rosa's decision. She might struggle with pride, but she wouldn't let her ego stand in the way of Lily's dreams. "Okay," Rosa said. Let's talk. But I want to be clear about something first. Whatever you're offering, it needs to be real. My daughter has dreams, and I won't let anyone give her false hope. David met her eyes steadily. I promise you this is real. Can we exchange phone numbers? Maybe we could meet this weekend. Talk through everything properly. Rosa nodded slowly. She gave him her number. The pay-as-you-go phone she barely had minutes on. David saved it in his phone, then handed her his card again. Call me anytime, he said. And Rosa? Thank you for raising such a remarkable daughter. The world needs more people like Lily, people who create beauty instead of just consuming it. As they parted ways, Rosa felt dizzy with the unreality of it all. She and Lily took the bus home, both of them quiet, processing the evening's events. Mama, do you think he really meant it? Lily asked as they climbed the stairs to their apartment. About the teacher and everything? Rosa unlocked their door, her mind spinning. I don't know, baby. We'll see. Sometimes people say things in the moment that they don't follow through on. But even as she said it, something told her David Chen was different. She'd seen something in his eyes, a sincerity that was hard to fake. For the first time in years, Rosa allowed herself a small flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, their lives were about to change. Part 5 Saturday morning arrived with bright sunshine streaming through the apartment windows. Rosa had barely slept, alternating between hope and fear about what might happen next. Part of her expected David Chen's phone call to never come. Rich people made promises to poor people all the time, then forgot about them the moment they returned to their comfortable lives. But at 10 o'clock, her phone rang. Rosa stared at the unknown number for a moment before answering. Hello? Hi, Rosa. This is David Chen. We met at the talent show. I hope I'm not calling too early. Rosa's hand tightened on the phone. No, not at all. I've been up for hours. I wanted to see if you and Lily would be available to meet today. I've spoken with Margaret Liu, the piano teacher I mentioned, and she's very interested in hearing Lily play. Would noon work for you? Rosa's heart raced. Today? That's so soon. I know it's fast, David said. You, sir. But Margaret is leaving for a teaching residency in Boston next week, and she won't be back for a month. I thought it would be good for them to meet before she goes. Of course, if you need more time to think about it. No, Rosa interrupted. We'll be there. Where should we meet? David gave her an address in a nice part of town, then offered to send a car to pick them up. Rosa almost said yes, then thought better of it. She needed to maintain some independence, some dignity. We'll take the bus, she said. We'll be there at noon. After she hung up, Rosa sat for a moment trying to calm her racing thoughts. Lily emerged from the bedroom still in her pajamas. Who was that, Mama? Mr. Chen. We're going to meet him today. He wants you to play for that piano teacher he mentioned. Lily's eyes went wide. Really? Today? Yes, baby. So let's get ready. They took turns bathing. Then Rosa helped Lily into her nicest casual clothes, a pair of jeans without holes and a sweater that was only slightly faded. Rosa wore her best, pants and the cleanest of her work blouses, wishing she had something better. The bus ride took 40 minutes. They had to transfer twice, but Rosa had mapped the route carefully. When they finally arrived at the address David had given, Rosa almost turned around and left. It was a beautiful building, one of those old brownstones that had been converted into elegant spaces. Other buildings on the street housed art galleries and upscale cafes. Rosa felt completely out of place. Mama, we're going to be late, Lily said, checking the big clock on a nearby building. Rosa took a deep breath and pressed the buzzer. David's voice came through the intercom immediately, as if he'd been waiting. Come on up. 3rd floor. The door buzzed open. They climbed the stairs, Rosa's legs aching from too many shifts and too little food. When they reached the 3rd floor, David was waiting in the hallway. Thank you for coming, he said warmly. Please, come in. The apartment was beautiful but not ostentatious. Hardwood floors, high ceilings, and large windows that let in plenty of natural light. But what caught Lily's attention immediately was the piano. It sat near the windows, a beautiful grand piano that gleamed in the sunlight. Is that for playing? Lily whispered, awestruck. That's exactly what it's for, said a new voice. Rosa turned to see an older woman, probably in her 70s, walking into the room. She was small and elegant, with silver hair pulled back in a bun. "You must be Lily," the woman said, smiling. "I'm Margaret Liu. David tells me you play piano." Lily nodded, suddenly shy. Margaret walked to the piano and sat on the bench, patting the space beside her. "Come sit with me. Let's talk about music." Lily glanced at Rosa, who nodded encouragement. As Lily sat beside Margaret, Rosa found herself alone with David. "Can I get you some coffee? Tea?" David asked. "Water would be fine, thank you," Rosa said, her throat tight with nerves. David brought her a glass of water, and they sat on the couch while Margaret and Lily talked quietly at the piano. Rosa couldn't hear what they were saying, but she could see Lily gradually relaxing, her hands moving expressively as she answered Margaret's questions. "Margaret is the best," David said quietly. "She taught at Juilliard for 30 years before she retired. She only takes on students now who she thinks have exceptional potential and genuine love for music." "Why are you doing this?" Rosa asked suddenly. "You don't know us. Why would you help us?" David was quiet for a moment. "Honestly? Because your daughter reminded me of something I'd lost. I've spent the last 15 years building my company, making money, being successful by every external measure. But somewhere along the way, I forgot what it felt like to be moved by something pure and true." He continued, "When Lily played that song, I cried. I can't remember the last time I cried. She was sharing something so honest, so full of heart. And then I found out she's completely self-taught, that she's been learning to play on a broken piano because her mother works 3 jobs just to keep them afloat. That's dedication. That's real passion. That deserves support." Rosa felt tears prick her eyes. "I do my best for her." "I know you do," David said gently. "That was obvious from the moment I saw you watching her perform. The way you looked at her, the pride in your face. That kind of love is rare." At the piano, Margaret was having Lily play some scales, listening carefully to her technique. Then she asked Lily to play her original composition from the talent show. Lily's fingers touched the keys of the beautiful grand piano, and the melody that emerged was even more stunning than it had been on the school's piano. The instrument responded to every nuance, every emotion Lily poured into it. When Lily finished, Margaret sat in silence for a long moment. Then she turned to the child beside her. "Lily, you have a gift, a real gift. Not just for playing, but for composition. The way you structure a melody, the emotional journey you create, it's remarkable for someone your age." "Does that mean you'll teach me?" Lily asked hopefully. Margaret smiled. "It means I want to teach you very much. But first, I need to talk with your mother and Mr. Chen about some practical matters." Margaret came over to join Rosa and David on the couch. Lily stayed at the piano, carefully touching the keys as if she couldn't quite believe they were real. "That child is special," Margaret said without preamble. "With proper training, she could go very far, but it won't be easy. Real musical education requires dedication, time, and resources." "What kind of resources?" Rosa asked, afraid of the answer. Margaret looked at David. "Perhaps you should explain what you're proposing." David leaned forward. "Rosa, I'd like to do more than just pay for piano lessons. I've been thinking about this since Thursday night, and I have a proposal. But please hear me out completely before you say no." Rosa braced herself. "I have a position available at one of my companies," David continued. "It's in our community outreach division. We work with nonprofits and schools to provide technology resources to underserved communities. The job would involve administrative work, coordinating programs, things like that. It's a real job with real responsibilities, not charity." He named a salary that made Rosa's breath catch. It was more than she made from all 3 of her current jobs combined. "With that salary," David continued, "you could work 1 job instead of 3. You'd have health insurance, retirement benefits, and normal working hours. You'd be home in the evenings, and on weekends, you'd be able to spend time with Lily." Rosa felt dizzy. "Why would you do this? You don't know anything about me or my qualifications." Jennifer vouched for you, David said. She's seen you at school, events, the way you're always volunteering despite your impossible schedule. She says you're organized, dedicated, and smart. Those are the qualities I need for this position. He added, and yes, I'm doing this partly because I want to help Lily pursue her music. But I'm also doing it because I need good people in my organization. This is a legitimate job offer, Rosa. You'd have to work hard and prove yourself. But I believe you can do it. Rosa looked over at Lily, who was watching them with wide, hopeful eyes. She thought about the last 3 years of exhaustion, of going hungry, of falling asleep on her feet. She thought about all the times she'd missed being with her daughter because she was working. What's the catch? Rosa asked. There's always a catch. No catch, David said. The job is real. Margaret's lessons would be separate, a gift because I was moved by your daughter's talent. But the job stands on its own merit. You'd earn that salary through your work. Margaret spoke up. And I want to be clear about my part in this. I'm not teaching Lily as a favor to David. I'm teaching her because she has genuine talent and passion. Those are the only criteria I care about. Rosa felt tears streaming down her face. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it, David suggested. Take the weekend. We can meet again on Monday if you want to discuss it further. But Rosa was already shaking her head. No, I don't need the weekend. Yes to all of it. The job, the lessons, everything. How could I say no to an opportunity like this for Lily? Not just for Lily, David said firmly. For yourself, too. You deserve a better life, Rosa. You've worked hard enough. Let someone help you for once. Those words broke something open in Rosa. She'd been so strong for so long, holding everything together through sheer force of will. Hearing someone say she deserved help, deserved rest, deserved better made her realize how tired she really was. Lily ran over from the piano and threw her arms around her mother. Mama, does this mean I get to have real lessons, and you won't have to work so hard anymore? Rosa held her daughter close. Yes, baby. That's exactly what it means. Margaret smiled. Wonderful. Then let's start immediately. Lily, before I leave for Boston next week, I'd like to work with you for an hour every day. Is that possible? Lily looked at her mother, who nodded through her tears. We'll make it possible. The next